Did you go to college?
Yeah. Well, I didn't play college soccer, but I graduated. I did SNHU. So, you know how they had
yeah.
Well, I guess MLS.
I can't give myself to do that.
Bro, you got to take advantage of that.
I've done 3 classes.
Oh, so you're enrolled, though?
Yes.
Oh,
I took 3 classes, I signed 2019, so.
But you're enrolled in the program that MLS offers?
I don't know. They might have changed it to South Carolina.
Yeah. It's South Carolina.
I don't know, but I think once you're already enrolled in SNHU, you
just stay. Yeah.
But I got signed in 2019. So I graduated from high school in 2019. So maybe my first class was early winter of 2019 or 2020.
Yeah.
And I think I took a Spanish class. I took an economics class and a literature class or something.
Are they still doing? Is yours 75% off or is it full ride? Or you don't know?
I have no idea. I actually wouldn't know. That was 4 years ago, so I haven't thought about school.
But you're not enrolled in any courses right now.
No.
Yeah.
No, let me ask you something. School related. Were your parents upset that you weren't going to go to college?
No, not upset. I think they've always no matter what, honestly, taken just whatever I'm about to make a decision about, try to take my side. But I definitely come from a family of education. I mean, my dad worked he was the vice president of school at the time, at Morehouse College at the time.
Yeah. His parents were upset. His mom was upset.
Really?
Yeah.
All growing up, we knew his talent and where it could take him. And all growing up, she was the one that said, no, he needs to go to college for and I always laughed. I was like, he can do college whenever he wants. He's not always going to have his potential career ahead of him.
Yeah. That's a big one, because if you don't take it and you do go to college, I mean, like we were talking about before, injuries can happen or you just don't play well in college. And college is hard to perform. I mean, you see some of the games. So it's this opportunity might not happen again, but like you said, you can do school later. And even though it's not the same in person and the social part,
yeah. I feel like there's both sides of it too, because you can jump and take the opportunity of going pro and signing that first contract, but then if it doesn't work out after a year or 2 years, and then you lost your college eligibility, and then players are in a rough spot. Yeah. I don't know. It has its pros and cons, and there's also some teams that don't value the college player. A lot of coaches, if they're in the league or if they're European coaches or whatever, they're they don't really take serious the draft.
That's true.
Even when I was in New York, we had a Norwegian coach, and he didn't care for any of the college players. They came in and it was a formality. They trained with us, but I think it's a cultural difference. Yeah, he just had no. I think he had no intention really of But I mean, I don't know. But then again, you have some players that just blow up out of college. Julian Gressel came out, did really good. Even the goalkeeper, the backup right now, Luis Barraza. So he came out of, when I signed New York, he came out of college, and he's still been the backup for 3-4 years. Yeah. Good goalkeeper.
Miles
Robinson came out of college. Yeah, So you'll see it too. John Gallagher, right? He came out of college too.
Yeah,
a lot of guys.
I think it's the cons is, you can lose eligibility or if you can't already pay for college, but. It's a matter of, I think, just betting on yourself that, you're going to be good once you sign, because I think, or for at least me, they gave me 3 years plus some option years. So you kind of have 3 years to really prove yourself and show your potential, and because you're a young guy if you sign homegrown. Yeah. So
What year did you sign? I'm trying to think even from the college perspective.
It was 2019.
So how old were you?
I was a senior in high school. I was turning 18. Well, obviously, when I graduated, I was 17.
Yeah,
still.
so I mean, if it didn't work, clearly it worked out. But if it didn't work out, you would have had 3 years plus potentially an option year. And in those 3 years, you could have figured out, well, do I want to do this? Do I not want to do this? Not that you would look at it that way in the moment, but if for whatever reason it didn't work out, you could look at it from you could look at it from this perspective after the fact that you're 21 at that point. You can go to college at 21.
Yeah.
And kind of.
Yeah, but you lose if he would have signed a pro contract. He couldn't play college soccer though. He could go to college, but he couldn't get a scholarship to play. I assume you spoke to college teams, right? Then,
yeah,
if you were all the way senior.
I was committed to Maryland.
So, you were committed.
Yeah, so I was.
Oh, okay.
I was talking to them the whole time,
full ride
no,
committed. Oh,
maybe 75%.
Oh, okay.
80. I don't know, something like that. But I was talking to them the whole time, yeah, I'm still it's
kind of
I'm just juggling the options. And
were they pretty amicable about it? Were they pretty chill about it, or were they kind of putting pressure?
No, they tried to be, and then later when they could tell I was kind of leaning. They were basically trying to say you're not gonna play a lot, and you might get stuck in USL.
Yeah,
that could happen. We'll make you ready for the league. And by the time I made my decision, I could kind of hear the anger and like
that
their voice.
They thought you going to Maryland would prepare you for MLS.
Well, that's I don't know if that's what they believe, but yeah.
Okay, that was the selling
exactly.
point.
So that's for sure what they're gonna sell every time, to these guys who are about to sign. So I maybe made my decision like spring before I graduated, so it might have been like March or April or something.
That's funny.
So for them, they now have like 2 months of watching academy kids, for my position. So that's probably why they were so mad. Honestly.
Yeah, because they were probably relying on you, and then their their plans change. I had the same experience too. I had actually Tony. You obviously know Tony Annan.
Yeah.
He called me. I want to say I was like 16 at the time, and he called me and he was like, "Hey, the head coach of North Carolina, like they love you. Like I'm giving you their I gave you their phone number.
Carlos.
Like they're gonna call you." Like, they want to give you a full ride. Like, this is going to be a great opportunity for you. And I had just signed an Adidas deal. So I wasn't even a pro yet, but I was making money from Adidas. So, like, I lost my college eligibility. The agent with them time, he got the deal for me. So I signed it. And then I was, in the process of trying to sign for a European team. So I knew this in the back of my head, like, I can't. There's nothing I can do. My eligibility is lost right now. But I was like, you know what? Like, I told Tony, I think I told Tony too. I was like, just have him call me respectfully. I'll talk to him and be like, hey, thank you for the interest. And they called me, and I remember the coach. I don't remember who he was.
Carlos
his name.
Simona?
No, I don't. I feel like he was an American. I feel like I would remember his name was Carlos.
Clay?
Maybe something like that. And he wasn't pissed, but he was just like, I vividly remember on the phone, like the first thing he said to me was like, why'd you do that? And I was like, I swear,
as the coach, he said that to you?
First thing he said
That's
to
funny.
me was, why did you do that? And I was like, oh, I mean, it's been my dream since a kid to play pro. Like, this opportunity came about. Like, I want to go pro, and I'm going to take my chance. And he was like, I think you just made a huge mistake. Like, this is risky. Like, you should have explored your options. It was just the most awkward phone call. Like, just really like super awkward. And then I got off the phone, and I was like, that was freaking weird. But then I spoke to Villanova. The same process, and this coach was the opposite. Like, man, congratulations. Like, that's amazing. I can't wait to see where your career takes you. Like, I wish you the best of luck. Complete opposite. Yeah. So,
you definitely didn't want to go to UNC then.
I was because I committed to Maryland, but it was between, and the colleges knew it. It was between Maryland and UNC. So I had similar call, but basically saying I'm going here instead of you guys, and it was the same thing.
Same thing.
Yeah. It might have been Will Clayton or something. I think he works in Atlanta now, which is funny.
Oh, yeah. I met him before.
Yeah.
He's like the team manager for the second team, I think. Or no. He's like a
scout.
Yeah,
one of those.
I know who you're talking about.
Type of jobs like in the office. Yeah.
I know who you're talking
it might have been him on the call. Well, at least I think it was for me. It was the same thing. Though. It was just like salty, like you made a mistake, kind of like we don't agree, and it's like it's done. Like it already happened, and they're still trying to basically make you feel bad about it.
So you were just verbal committed, though.
Do you ever want to call him back and be like, look at me now, bro?
I always think about that.
That's not something, anyone growing up learning to be a pro. Yeah. No one should do that.
There's some guys, because I lived outside Philadelphia at first. Both of my brothers played for Philadelphia Union's academy. And I remember specifically there's this one guy in Philadelphia Union. Everyone hates him. And he basically called Tony when I was moving to Atlanta, because my dad moved here first. And he said, yeah, like, he's no good. Don't take him into your academy, like, whatever.
Really?
And Tony took me in, like, John Michael Noe. Like, I think Tony loved me. I mean, I couldn't tell at the time. Yeah. But, at the end of the day, he helped me. But, yeah, like, guys like that, just rotten.
So talk about because I saw here, so you were born in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Okay. And so you grew up there. How long did you grow up in Pennsylvania for?
Yeah, I was born in Chester, and then lived in like Pennsylvania for I want to say 14 years. So 2015.
Oh, so you're there for a long time.
Yeah. I moved. My dad, when I was in 7th grade, got a job in Atlanta, and then I just moved freshman year for high school. So when I was 14, turning 15, I moved to Atlanta.
And your dad moved by himself, and you guys stayed in Pennsylvania.
Yeah. So my oldest brother. We all stayed, and then 2 years later is when my oldest brother went to college. He went to UNC.
Okay.
And that's when I was in 9th grade. I went with my dad, and my brother was about to be a senior in high school. So he stayed with my mom in Pennsylvania while I went with my dad.
You went with your dad.
Yeah. And then when my brother finished high school and went to college, that's when I came to – that's when he came to – that's when my mom came to Atlanta.
Because he was done there, so and you were obviously still in high school. So that's
so they both came in.
How connected were you with the Philadelphia Union at the time? Even like as a just a growing up a soccer fan or growing up as a kid playing soccer, being a fan.
Yeah. So I think 2010 is when they were founded. So going to their games, like I was going to their games all the time. Like I love going to their games. I got a little salty when I left because I was leaving to Atlanta anyway, but I tried out for their academy team and I didn't make it.
Really?
And then I went to Georgia United that same year.
The development academy, yeah.
Yeah, so I was a little salty, and on top of that, like I feel like everyone knows Philadelphia's fans are they're the worst.
Oh, you don't like the Sons of Ben?
They're the worst.
You don't like the Sons of Ben, the
They're
documentary they came out with?
They're dirty. They're dirty.
I went to one Philly Union game, and I remember thinking the entire time that the team was being talked about, they were going to like really build up the area of Chester, Pennsylvania, and it just never happened.
Yeah.
And that was a massive sticking point to the fan base there, that the area just looks. It's sort of the same thing that happened here with the Braves, where Turner Field was supposed to then kind of I don't know if revitalize is the right word, but build up the area around where Turner Field was, and it just never happened. There's no restaurants that you could go to at the time. I think there's some now, but there's no bars. The big talk around that was that there's nothing to do unless you're just going to the game.
Yeah.
Versus now in Cobb County where they play now, there's so much. It's like a mall outside.
Yeah.
Anyways, but that's sort of the same plan they had for the Union, and it just never happened.
Yeah, Chester is not a great spot. So it is what it is. I mean, yeah, I remember I was pretty connected with them, I would say, but I got a little salty, and I definitely don't like them now. So.
But that's crazy how that works, because so you try for Philadelphia Union Academy, doesn't work out because you want to join an MLS academy, right? It's kind of like the highest level of club soccer or youth soccer that you could play.
Yeah, for sure.
Then you come to Georgia United, and then a year later Atlanta. Did you came to Georgia United without any idea that Atlanta United was about to form?
I don't think anyone knew
no one
2015. So,
no.
Yeah, I think it was like late 2015, 2016 that they announced it. And then I think at some place pretty far away from here, they had like this tryout. There was maybe like 200 kids there.
I went to one of those.
Really?
Not to try out myself, but just to cover it as a fan.
Was it Lakewood Ranch or something?
It was somewhere up in Marietta, I think.
Oh,
you know what? I lied. It might have been
that's where the training ground is.
I know that's where the training ground is, but I think
it's probably in Ackworth.
Somewhere around there was where they had one of. I shouldn't have said I was at that one. It was one of the tryouts things they had, but so it might have not been that exact same one.
So your dad moved to Atlanta because he had a job there.
Yeah. So I don't know. I was definitely too young, but he got a job somehow at Morehouse College, and so 2 years he was here by himself.
And then how did you get in touch with Tony Annan and Georgia United, or you just knew you were coming to Atlanta, and so
I knew I was coming, but at that point, I think everyone, because at a certain point it was like club soccer and ODP.
Yeah.
But I think at that point those were like the years where DA was starting to kind of be the main place to play, and I think we were looking it up. I saw it was Concord and Georgia United as the two options.
Those are the two options, yeah.
And it was literally just a flip of a coin. Like,
really?
My dad was just like, do your research and
then
like
figure out which.
Yeah, like
crazy.
pick one and we'll try out for that one. And pick Georgia United.
Well, you definitely picked the right one.
Yeah.
That was always like that was the more prestige one.
Yeah, for sure.
No, but there was that big switch because U.S. Soccer was pushing at the time that they didn't want, because club soccer you would play in the fall, but then once you were in high school, the spring you would play for your high school team. Yeah. And U.S. Soccer was like, we got to cut that out. Like, our best players in the country can't be playing high school soccer. Like, they got to play something more competitive. So they came with Development Academy. And then Georgia United, it was pretty much like NASA, Norcross, UFA, maybe one other club. They all like merged. All the directors from them, they're like, we're going to make one super team. We're just going to try out. Kids from outside those clubs can come too, but we're going to pull all those kids from our best clubs in Georgia. We're going to put them on one team. And then Concord was obviously on the other side too. And Concord was like, I don't know what happened if Concord just wanted to do their own thing, or maybe they got left out. I mean, who knows? But I do remember, like, when I tried out for Georgia United, because I guess I was doing it like a year, or maybe a year or 2 years before you and Jamichael did it. I went to the tryouts, and it was crazy. There were so many kids there. I remember being nervous. I remember being like, man, I really want to make this team, because, like, this is where the best kids are going to play. And, like, if you're going to a tryout and there's, like, 200 kids and there's only going to be 20 spots in this roster. And the big thing, too, is it's free. Right, because I guess at the time they were pushing like, we're going to pay for everything. We're going to pay for your travel. Like, you don't have to. I don't know who was funding it or who was paying for it, but that was the big thing too. So that definitely is crazy that you came here, and then a year. You joined Georgia United, and then a year later.
The crazy part is like I didn't do the tryout process. I kind of like got in touch with Tony because Tony did know of my brothers from Philadelphia's academy.
Yeah,
and Tony was like a U.S. scout at some point or something like that.
Uh-huh.
So I think honestly, my brothers probably gave me the little bit of credibility I needed to get the tryout in the first place, and it wasn't a tryout. I literally just showed up like late, like 20 minutes late to training. I think it was at like somewhere in Lawrenceville, and I just pulled up for like a few weeks. He let me try out, and he just took me in kind of.
Oh, so you were training for a while before being on the team?
Oh, like officially, but I think like after the first week, he kind of knew that. I think I kind of knew that I was gonna be on the team, but I don't know how it worked back then. Honestly, I can't remember clearly. But we went on some preseason trips and like to Tennessee or something to play someone.
Who was on that team? Was like Zion and Charlie and those guys on the team? Or you guys were you the oldest group at the time, the 01s?
So no, they were
the 00s were the oldest group.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know if there was 18s or not. But
so who was on that team when you went to go try out?
Well, John Michael. I'm trying to think who you might know now, or who anyone might know now. Man, I can't think of anyone. I can't think of like super notable names.
Yeah.
But yeah, like John Michael, Remy Smith.
I know Remy
Matt Rios, Simon Carlson.
And what were your first impressions of like the environment, like moving to Atlanta and then training in that atmosphere rather than training back home in Pennsylvania?
Yeah, so I think I went to Georgia United before I started school, because school for me was like it was pretty hard to manage both. I went to pretty like prestigious in terms of like the courses they allow. There's like an IB school, and I was up late doing homework a lot. So going to training before that and not even knowing that school, like I didn't school wasn't in my mind.
Yeah.
So it was literally just like those guys were the one I was hanging out with, and like the level was so much better.
Yeah.
So much better.
Yeah.
I was on club before, and some random club in Pennsylvania.
Like
we didn't even make like state cup.
Was that Nether United that I saw?
Yeah,
Nether United.
Honestly, well, my brother's teams were really good, like really good.
At that club.
Yeah. Like they went all the way. They won state cup together.
Oh, nice.
With one of the coaches who stays in touch with me still. His name was John Araxa. It's like he was an unbelievable coach.
Yeah.
But their team had a lot of talent. Like they were good. They had guys like Austin Trusty now.
Oh yeah.
He played there. They had some, I think one other.
Well, Philadelphia had a lot of good players that came out of there.
Yeah.
Like even in my age group, we had Mark McKenzie that came out of there.
Yeah.
We had Matt Real who came out of there. Anthony Fofana came out of there in my group. Their academy was always really good. I played against with Georgia United. We played against their academy. I remember for Philadelphia, they were always like super big and like super athletic. Like we were going against guys that were like 6 feet tall, and we were like 15 at the time. These dudes were huge. But they always had a lot of really good players that came out of their academy in Philadelphia, or even the youth in Philadelphia. I think it's a high level, whether club or academy.
That's right. Atlanta was. I played like the pre-academy for Philly, so when I went to Atlanta, I saw some of that, but some of the guys that obviously Andrew and Chris Gosselin were there, but just in general the level was way more technical than
really.
I remember. Like I remember going to training and like 14s we do like long balls and whatever in training. Like you see balls going everywhere at first from me, but obviously like I got a lot better. So it was a big jump.
Yeah.
Big jump.
And how was your relationship with Tony as a coach? 'Cause I never had him personally as a coach, but I always knew that he was like really demanding, really hard, kind of like a very, very aggressive, kind of old school way, right? Not a coach that's going to necessarily put your hand around you and tell you good things. Like he's going to give it to you direct, he's going to give it to you real. But I assume he helped you a lot, right? In your development.
I think there's different coaching styles. I feel like if you can get the best out of yourself, or even if you're not getting the best out of yourself, but take what he says, like, not with a grain of salt, but, try to learn as much as you can, but don't just be, feel like he hates you or
just he
crumble in a ball, when you go home. Like, at the end of the day, he's trying to help you. It helps him and his career, but also he wants to help you. Like, as a coach, I feel like that's the first thing you want to have is you want to help players. So I feel like he genuinely, like he hated it when he didn't see the best at, like, what someone can be.
Yeah.
So I feel like, in general, I take criticism well. Like, I don't mind when someone gets on me. I just try to take what I can out of it, what will help me. So I think I was one of those guys. And then on the flip side, you see some guys who just in general, like, I don't know if they stopped playing after him, but they just didn't take it well, and they didn't play a lot with him. Yeah. They, kind of sulked a little bit. So, yeah, I had a fine relationship with him, honestly. He coached me like 3 years.
With that Atlanta's Academy, too.
Yeah, because he, I think, went to 16s after. I think he was a 16s coach for Atlanta United.
Yeah,
after
Georgia United, yeah.
And even then, like, I had a tough time that year, but I remember he took me at the end of that year and said, basically, you haven't been good this year, and like, in order, like, you're gonna stay next year in the academy with 17s, but you need to, like, basically, you need to lock in. Like, you need to do way better, because these guys who would die to be in your position are playing better than you right now in these tryouts, and they're gonna take your spot if you're not better. If you're not better next year. So I feel like that was honestly like a good wake-up call.
Does it light a fire under you?
Yeah, that was a wake-up call, honestly, because the next year I came in 17's year, and that was the best I ever played that year. We went to Mexico. That's when I started playing center back as well. So, yeah, that Mexico trip, I was balling out. And honestly,
where were you playing before, the 6?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I was playing the 6, Georgia United, first year Atlanta United.
Yeah.
And then, after that, I just played center back, and I started to play way better, felt way more confident.
I think that's one thing that you need to have if you want to go pro. Like,
versatility?
Not even versatility, being able to play both positions, but being able to thrive when, like, there's pressure on you. Like, to be able to take criticism from a coach, to be like, listen, you're not playing good enough. Like, not even, obviously you're not a pro at the time, but, like, he's basically telling you, like, listen, your spot on this academy team is going to be taken unless you start improving. And then, you have two options from there. You can kind of, like you said, crumble and kind of fade out, or you can just kind of be like, I need to wake up. I need to train harder. I need to do what I need to do in order to take my opportunity that I have. Because, you take that with you to the pro side, where the competition's even harder, where the level's higher, the coaches are more demanding. And, like, if you can't do it, you're not going to make it. You're not going to have a spot on that team. And I think that's just one thing that kids can kind of realize, if you can't do it at a youth level, like, if you can't take the criticism, if you can't, take, the bad times and try to improve yourself, then at the highest level, you don't stand a chance.
Yeah, for sure.
So, I mean, I'm sure that's something that you realized at a young age to take with you, ultimately to making it to the pro game.
Yeah.
Go ahead, sorry.
No, I was going to say, there was things I've never heard from it was just club soccer, like, nice, jolly, get out there, go home. And then when I arrived at Georgia United, I was hearing things I've never heard in my life before.
Especially with Tony. Tony. I think Jermichael told me something. I don't know if it was Andrew or Jermichael told me something crazy. You remember, he was telling me, like, one time at halftime, he was, like, yelling at this one kid and just, like, kept telling it. Jermichael will have to tell it better than I did. But he was saying something. He was like, you're playing horribly. Like, I should have never picked you. Like, just, like, ripping into this kid. And Jermichael know the story better than I can.
Yeah. I'm sure that story's happened.
Do you know the story? Come on. Real quick, come on.
Yeah, we got to get to
I'm sure that story happened multiple times to multiple people.
For those just listening, John Michael's here. He just tell the story.
I think you remember. Hopefully you're there. It was Tariq. He had a flight to PSG.
Tell us how the mic.
Tariq had a flight to PSG, and Tony was like ripping him a new one at half. He was ripping him a new one at halftime. Was like you should have never took that flight. You're wasting your own money, your time. Like, you can't even do it at Summer Hour Park. How do you think you're gonna do it in France? And Tariq's just staying there. Like, we're 14 at the time. And Tariq's just like, we're being joke, but all the guys just like, Jesus Christ. Like, we're just playing a little DA game. We're just
man. I actually vaguely remember that. That's hilarious.
Oh my gosh.
One of the other players I was going to mention was Jackson Conway also.
Yeah. Oh, Jackson Conway.
Yeah. Honestly, if he sees this, he's going to kill me for not mentioning him.
But you didn't mention him.
That's crazy, actually.
But do you think that kind of helps you, I guess, not even the pressure, but the tough love, does that help you become a pro? Even the pressure itself that it creates, does that help you become a pro?
Yeah, for sure.
I guess what I wanted to ask was, did you know that there was a chance that you, at that age, could become a pro soccer player? And did that help you, or did that, I guess, it's like a chicken before the egg type of question. Like, did it propel you, or did it help you get there?
Yeah, I see what you mean. And for me, when I was playing club soccer, even before Georgia United, I felt like I was one of the best at the club, obviously. Like, it wasn't a big club. So for me, it was like a full circle. Like, at one point, it was just for fun. And then when I was really good, just before academy, I was like, yeah, like this is something that like I feel like I could go far. And then when I got to academy, I was like, yeah, like the level's way higher than I thought, or I'm not at the level that I should be.
Yeah,
this is way better than I thought they were. Probably not going to happen from maybe 14 to 16, and then when I did become a center back the 17th year, after basically I was told that I didn't have a good season. That year when I was playing really well, that's when I felt okay, like for sure something's gonna happen, something can happen, and I went to play some training sometimes with USL, I think, but then I got injured, and even then they knew when I came back from injury I was supposed to play with the USL team, but I took maybe like 4 or 5 months to get back. And
was that the abductor?
Yeah. So I had some problems there, and then I got back, and honestly, I was started at 17. I was still 17 years old. Played with the USL the whole season until 18, and from there, like I was already in contract negotiations. Maybe like early February or March, basically at the same time, right before I told Maryland I'm not gonna go.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, it was like a full circle. Like it was just moments of confidence. I think that's honestly every athlete will say. If you have confidence, you feel like you can do anything. Honestly.
Yeah. What would you say would that flip the switch to get you to play at a higher level? Was it like did you start training harder? Did you start? Obviously, you had the positional change too. But like, what in your head made you suddenly go from a coach speaking with you being like, "Hey, you're not cutting it," to then suddenly having an amazing year? Like, what was that switch in your head?
Yeah, honestly, so him saying that and in general, me trying to just work a lot harder and concentrate a lot more, because I've always in my head been like a teammate first kind of guy, like outside the field, just be that guy who like trying to be cool with everyone. But I need to take this more seriously if I want to stay here in this environment. And I feel like I remember the training after he told me, like, you need to do better. It was basically when the season was over, but all the tryout guys were kind of just coming in, so we're still training. And he was just, at times, Tony was complimenting me a few times, like, that's basically you should be training like that every time. Because I just kind of flipped the switch, like, all right, it's like every pass, every possession drill. This all matters. I can't just, take the piss.
Reps off,
Yeah, so I think there's just from a concentration standpoint, I just jumped a level and kind of mentally turned that switch on. I don't even think it was a matter of working hard enough. I feel like I always worked hard. It was a matter of kind of the mental piece.
Yeah,
I would say that's the biggest one.
I think from someone who's not a pro, never been a pro, it's always fun. It's always good to I guess it's always like enlightening to hear those to hear those conversations, because I'm curious as to what does flip the switch, and then what kind of. Is it the amount of training you get? Because I know plenty of people that have trained their asses off and they don't make it.
Yeah.
Is it just raw talent that gets them there? And I know plenty of people with raw talent who just decide I don't want to play anymore. It feels like it's just a combination of a lot of things that just kind of go the right way.
Yeah, I would.
But I like.
There's also details in how you go about that. Me personally, like. So I grew up I have 4 cousins on my mom's side and 2 older brothers. All of them play soccer. I'm the youngest of all of them, except for one. He played basketball. So for me, I was always in the backyard with them, and I was always playing soccer since
you were always playing better players.
Yeah, exactly,
older
exactly.
Players.
So and on top of that, like I ate my vegetables. I grew, and I was like at George United. That's when I was like one of the biggest guys, but. And I would say at a certain point, like, I never played at that level, so my first touch, my dribbling, my passing, it wasn't as good. But I always, in the back of my head, felt like I was one of the better players in that, in that category when it was at club soccer. So I've always wanted to be a more technical player, but also I had the physicality. So I wouldn't say naturally I was super talented, but I knew at a certain point I had to kind of change something, and I feel like I watched a lot more soccer when I maybe 16, 17. I watched a lot more. Just games, like YouTube videos. Like I just looked up random stuff to just get my game better. I looked up like highlights of any position, any player. I've played every position in soccer, so I feel like there's no position I can't play in the back of my head. I mean, I could be a winger in an MLS game and be terrible. Like, right. But in the back of my head, I can play anywhere on the field because I've always watched it, I've always played it, and I'm just like, I'm a soccer player first before I'm just a center back. So at the end of the day, like, I feel like the jump I made was like a mental switch in terms of the concentration, but also just like I just watched a lot more and I knew what I had to do. I knew what I had to do to step up my game. Not just how good I was, but the kind of the role I played on the field.
Michael and I talk about that all the time, that like a lot of kids, maybe they don't really like watching soccer, but even, me and him as well, we watched soccer all the time when we were kids. Like, we watched Barcelona all the time, that Guardiola age, and, like, we would be in our basement, like, they had the triangles, the tiki-taka, where they just pass back and forth, passing, but then 1-2s, and Messi would join into the midfield. And, like, we would just watch that, and then you just tried to replicate it. Like, I remember Busquets at the time, I guess it was like a new thing where the center backs would go wide and Busquets would drop in the middle from the 6. And so I went to practice like the next day at Georgia United after watching that. Man, this is sick. And the next practice we were doing small side, and I told my center backs, I was like, yo, you guys get wide. I'm going to drop right in between you. And I was just spraying balls just like I would see like Busquets and those guys do on TV. So there's so much value there that you can like see these pros because they're doing it at the highest level. And you can just learn. And it's literally free. Like, you're just sitting there and you can just learn from them. And I like, too, what you said about, taking pride in, like, all the reps that you did, because that's something I think that's really important, too, is, like, when you're in training, like, every pass matters. Every pass, the weight of the pass to the right foot. If you mess up one play, like, you make a bad pass, the next one you're trying to make it better. And just having that pride to do that. In my environment when we were at Georgia United, like, we had me, Andrew Carlton, Chris Goslin. So, like, we had a lot of really good players. Cece Uche that turned pro. We had Patrick Okonkwo that went pro. I feel like every training session we were always trying to one-up each other to be like, like, if you're going to train well, I'm going to train better than you. And that ultimately pushed us. And, like, we were, it's easy for maybe the best players on the team to, like, take a rep off or to kind of relax. But, I'm sure you even see it, too. At the pro level, the best players are the best players in training, too. Yeah. Like, they're the ones that are working the hardest, that are training the best, that they don't take any reps off, and that's why they are the best. Rather than, some players that might just kind of goof off or relax and don't care if they miss a bad pass. And really, ultimately, at the highest level, you can't do that. It doesn't cut it.
I feel like a lot of, whether it's, guys my age or, kids, they think it's, like, common that, because you get a few guys who are insanely talented, and they are lazy, but their talent just takes them to a different level that no one else can get. I feel like kids think that's a lot more common than it is. That, at least for MLS, I don't think that exists really for 90% of the teams.
Those players don't play in MLS.
Exactly. And if they do, they're coming from a different, like, you have the Insignes and guys like obviously Messi, I'm sure doesn't work hard at training at all. But so you have guys.
That's such a diss to Messi.
I mean, it's the truth. I mean, there's no way. So
there's no way.
There's those examples, but for 95% of the league, you have to work hard. I mean, at a certain point in the season, you get, a coach that keeps a starting 11, sometimes no matter how you train. But to get to that point, you definitely need to be the hardest worker or take the most pride in your passes, like he said. Like, that kind of notion that just, have the talent for sure, it doesn't really exist.
Yeah. So kind of fast forwarding a little bit, signing for Atlanta United, how was that feeling? How was that talks with the club, and, like, ultimately when you signed that pen to paper, what was going through your head in that moment?
Yeah, I mean, it happened really fast. Like I said before, I didn't know it was coming really until that 17th year. So from the time it happened to when I started to feel it was like less than a year.
Yeah.
So it was almost like I didn't have time to process it at the time. I mean, it wasn't even like, it was a huge deal to me, but I didn't feel the excitement as much as, like, if I look back at it now, I would. Because, I mean, at the time, I was barely turning 18, still in school. So it was hard to take it in, but once I signed and, like, got into the locker room, it was definitely like a wake-up call in terms of every day in training. Like, even before I signed, when I knew I was going to sign, some of these guys still don't even know my name. Like,
being the younger guy in the locker room, and you're kind of
like, they're, like, blasting the ball at me and training, like a passing drill, like, to take the piss out of me or something. So, like, there was, like, definitely, like, just I wouldn't even say humbling, because I knew I wasn't at that level yet. But it was just definitely like a wake up call. Like, all right, this is a completely different level. Like, I'm gonna have to train even harder.
Yeah.
Be in the gym after, before.
You still have so much to prove at that point.
Yeah,
you know, like
exactly.
Some people think that signing, it's like, oh, it's over. Like, no, like that's just the start of like the very small start of what you have to do to make it, essentially.
Yeah, like the amount of guys who've, like just signed one contract and then after that kind of it goes downhill is a lot. And a lot for different reasons. It could be injuries or it could just, they fall off. But
unlucky too. A lot of players get unlucky with coaches, with something. There's a lot of things that go into it.
And honestly, I tell us all the time, luck is honestly one of the biggest things in life in general.
Yeah, I always wonder that, like how
it's huge.
How sometimes just things just go the right way for certain players.
Yeah.
Whether they're good and whether they're good and they deserve it, or whether they're not as good and they don't deserve it. Like luck sometimes can just see a guy through an entire career. Sometimes I feel like.
Yeah,
I mean I don't know. I could be wrong, but.
You're probably talking about me right now.
No.
No, I mean, I consider myself extremely lucky, but
why is that? Why do you consider yourself extremely lucky?
I'm definitely was not talking about you because you proved it on a couple of teams now that you belong where you are.
Yeah, let me say. Well, on top of that, I'll say why. But on top of that, once you get a stroke of luck or even a chance falls in your hands, you have to take it.
Of course,
that's what I think I did. Basically, the best I've done. I would say I got lucky just purely because of, I landed at Georgia United. My two brothers obviously kind of gave me that credibility before to get to Tony. He liked me as a player. He brought me basically. I remember he called me like right after the tryout. Said, "Yeah, like you're gonna be on the team." I was like, oh, like amazing. He's like, you don't sound excited. I'm like, no. Like, I'm excited to be here. Like, yeah. So I feel like just those kind of strokes of luck, and then when I take it. You always have to take your luck. I mean, if you get lucky and don't do anything, then it doesn't matter. So I feel like it was a kind of a combination of luck and, just kind of focusing and knowing when my opportunity's here. But, yeah, luck is a huge part. I mean,
your situation was being at the right place at the right time.
Exactly.
Like, that's God, whether, God, put you in that moment for ultimately to lead you to where you are now.
Yeah. So... Yeah, that was a huge part.
There's some quote about luck about how you have to be prepared for the opportunities that you're given or something like that, and that's luck.
And that's the luck?
Is being prepared for the opportunities that come your way. People will look at that and be like, oh, you're so lucky. But no, you clearly spent enough time preparing for the moments that were going to come your way, and when those moments came, you... Yeah,
for sure.
You performed, and that's the luck.
There's the opposite side. There's times where you can be really unlucky. Like, even in my situation, like I signed in Belgium. I talk about this all the time. I joke about it now. But I signed in Belgium, and we played our first 3 games of the season. We lost all 3 games. They fired the head coach that signed me. And then, a new coach came in, and in the beginning it was fine, and he gave me my first start. Super grateful for that. But then, immediately after that, he was like, hey, you're not in my plans. You got to find a new team. That's moments where you can be, really, really unlucky. Like, if you're in an environment where a coach trusts you or a coach believes in you, and then that coach is out of the picture all of a sudden, you can be really unlucky in that sense. There's a lot of factors that go into it. But I think a lot of pro guys have that same mutual feeling, and because pro guys know where you're like, there is luck to play for a lot of it.
For sure. I've been fortunate enough. I wouldn't even consider this luck, but more of opportunities have came. I've taken it. I've never had a single coach,
who didn't trust you?
No, a single coach in consecutive years, basically.
Oh, okay.
So 2019 through now, I've never once had the same coach 2 preseasons in a row, basically.
I saw that.
This year, I assume I'll be in Montreal next year. This would be the first time. But rewind, I guess, that's kind of helped, I think, in terms of, the coach knows me. He knows I'm good. He knows I have potential. So, can come into preseason or train the first few times, whatever. He knows who I am.
You're more relaxed.
You don't really need to prove anything to him.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a new coach every preseason I've been for 5 years now, 6 years.
Every
preseason, I've had to basically this time around the year lock in, start working out, get fit, come in and ready to train. Because I've always, up until I would say this coming season, I would always consider myself a young guy. And young guys, you can't come into preseason
unfit.
You can't do that, or you'll be put aside immediately.
Yeah.
So that's kind of made me focus a lot, actually, because I've had mid-season coaches fired, 2 or 3 times. I've had coach fired at the end of the year 2 or 3 times. So
I did notice that, and I wanted to ask you about that. So because when you signed, DeBoer was the coach.
Yeah.
No. Or who was the?
No.
Well, your first season.
That's right.
Yeah, DeBoer was the coach.
Yeah.
DeBoer gets fired, and they sign. And then the interim takes charge for the rest of the season, and then they sign Gabriel Heinz.
Mid-season again. He gets fired.
He gets fired.
Rob Valentino
takes over
for maybe 6 games,
and then that's when they sign Gonzalo Pineda.
So the next preseason, Gonzalo Pineda was there.
Oh yeah, he was there, and then
I think that was the only time I had. I think that was the only time I had a full season with a coach, but still
Gonzalo
not.
Pineda.
And then I got traded.
And then, but yeah, so you didn't have that Gonzalo Pineda's last season with Atlanta. You weren't there because you got traded.
Right.
So I wanted to ask you, because I always like to ask it because it's just funny, or not funny, but just interesting. When you're in preseason, or when you're in your vacation or mid-season, let's say, even doesn't matter, and you go on Instagram and you just see LA United or whoever it might be, we've parted ways with DeBoer. They
don't tell you ahead of time.
What?
Do
No, most of
you can get hints.
Yeah, you can get hints, but sometimes you just don't know. What's your first immediate reaction when you see something like that happening, and you're the player on the team? What's your first reaction?
The thing is, it sounds bad, but the thing is, these guys that I've had, a lot of times, at least for the situation, other situations they could be great coaches. It just hasn't worked out when they were my coach, so they're fired kind of for a reason. It wasn't working with that team. And so you kind of
you see the writing on the wall.
It's kind of like finally let's get the new coach in and get us going.
Jeez.
But not in a malicious way. More of a fresh start.
We're doing
That's
something
honestly,
here.
yeah, exactly. It's more the fresh start feeling, which is refreshing at times when things aren't going well, because the times when it's happened for me, it's not going well at all. And you need a fresh start. I mean, when we got Rob Valentino as an interim coach, I think we won 5 games in a row. After Heinz.
I remember that.
Yeah.
So
it's crazy what he just did now with Atlanta too.
That's
exactly.
Insane, yeah.
And I love Rob, honestly. But
give this guy the job, man. Sorry.
No. I was just gonna say it's more of a fresh start thing.
Yeah.
But at a certain point, I've had enough fresh starts. I'm ready to keep it going, playing the same style, learning the system, learning my position, playing the same way. You kind of have to adjust how you play it every 6 months, every year, to what coach comes in, which is, I don't have a crazy problem adjusting, but it's frustrating for a lot of guys. And then you see these team shifts and the roster changes, and it's just a never-ending cycle kind of. So
because a lot of times when a coach comes in, he brings his guys, and then that coach gets fired, and the new coach comes in, he's like, I don't want these guys.
Yeah, exactly.
These aren't my guys.
So that happened, for years, kind of.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'm ready for that to stop. But at a certain point, we were struggling this year.
I can imagine. I feel like for the normal kid, it'd just be going to a new school every 6 months, being a military brat and having.
It's an awkward, kind of timid feeling because no one knows what to expect. A new coach comes in and no one knows him. Hey Gaffer, nice to meet you. My name is Juan Pablo. It's just you. What's the first thing he's gonna say to me? Hey, he's gonna give me a look. Is he gonna everyone's just on edge. No one really knows what to expect when a new guy takes charge.
Yeah. Almost every time it's these individual meetings, 10 minutes right when they come. They want to meet with everyone, see who they are, kind of. Even though what they say doesn't matter. It's on the field, they already in the back of their head, they come accepting that job. I'm sure
they know enough.
Plenty of interview process. They've seen your games.
Yeah.
They've done their research on
of knowing
the team.
who they kind of.
So the meetings, it's kind of a formality. They know exactly what they think of you.
It's more just a meet and greet.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is in my head.
Was your preseason with Gabriel Heinz, was that one of the toughest preseasons you ever had?
Yeah.
Because I'm sure Eric, you've seen it too. Because I remember when I was playing, I'd heard about it, where just insane level of fitness, running, didn't want to give water breaks, no off days, where I guess where the players, or I don't know who it was, the players filed a grievance with the league, saying this isn't
was
just
that real?
what he's
I heard
doing.
that was
so
exaggerated.
So yeah,
okay,
it was a bit exaggerated. I mean, I think what he does, Gabriel Heinz, it's not
Is it
something
Heinz?
that's.
I thought it was Heinz.
I didn't know if I was going to say Heinz or Heinz.
Okay, all right. Because in my head, I'm thinking he's going to get blasted because he's saying Heinz.
That's what I was worried about. I was
let
me say. I was going to say Gabrielle, and I wasn't going to say the last name because I was people are going to say that. I'm not
Gabby,
right.
whatever it is. I don't know, but yeah, I think what he does, his coaching style, doesn't really work. And honestly, I had the same problem with Hernan Losada, he had the same problem as a coach.
I was going to
kind
touch
of
into that.
what they do doesn't really fit into how a lot of MLS teams and MLS guys react. Me personally, like, I don't really complain about stuff that on the field as much as a lot of guys in my head. So I kind of just, whatever it is, I do it. But a lot of guys will have a serious problem with their style of training day to day.
Yeah.
They take, like, for example, I think Heinz took, like, mayonnaise, like Nutella, all that away, like butter. he took a lot of that away from, like, the chefs and how they cook. And when we go to away games, the hotel
certain foods.
So that stuff does not react well with
the Josef Martinez, with the big guys. Yeah.
Exactly. That doesn't react well. So those guys are going to push to get him out immediately if they have any type of experience in basically stature. Yeah. So, and the water stuff.
That was exaggerated.
I heard it was so.
What was the story about the water?
I honestly forgot about the story, but I remember hearing something about how he wasn't allowing water breaks, something like that. And then come to find out, it was a little bit exaggerated. I think it was Felipe Cardenas who wrote the story for The Athletic, and he might, if he hears this, he's gonna be like, "Bro, come on." He did it with the Andrew Carlton thing. But he, I think he came out saying something about the water breaks, and I honestly forget the details. But I remember later hearing that whole issue was a little bit exaggerated, and I want to say I heard it from the players themselves. So it wasn't.
Yeah.
So what was the situation?
Well, his training style was like, it was long trainings, like 2 hours and sometimes. Really? So some days would be, like, harder days would be basically this circuit set up with, like, obstacles, and I don't know if you see, like, some of the YouTube videos or whatever, but, like, you're dribbling as fast as you can. Let's say weave through cones.
Weave through the pole.
Put it through a hole. Jump. Yeah, exactly.
That kind of stuff. Yeah.
Exactly. So we would be doing that, and let's say, for example, we would do, like, 6 minutes around both fields as fast as you can. Just keep going, basically. So you see, like, the fit guys are, like, passing the not fit guys. I'm not a naturally fit guy, so I'm getting passed every now and then.
And this is in season. This isn't preseason. You're talking about in season?
Yeah. Like, this happened, well, it first happened in preseason. So okay, talking about the water thing.
Yeah.
So after the 6 minutes, they would want, like, no one get water. Like, you break for the next 6 minutes, basically.
You couldn't drink water in between.
That's what they try to do. And then maybe it lasted, like, one time. But after
one training session or one specific moment in the training session.
No, like one training session.
Oh, okay,
or like maybe a week, maybe. But for sure that never lasted. Like, if guys wanted water, I'd grab over and give myself a water. Like, no one's gonna stop me from having water.
The trainer's like, no, you can't.
Yeah.
He's taking away the water.
So that happens. I mean, I don't know if you've experienced that, but
I've never had a trainer like be like, you can't drink this.
I've had two or three coaches who kind of try to implement that. Like, it helped you kind of build that, durability for the game.
Yeah.
And they tell the trainers, like, coaches want me to give you waters, guys. Look at the trainer like, yo, give me the fucking water. But
that's
that didn't really last.
Yeah, there was another issue about mandated days off or something like that.
Yeah, you guys didn't have off days. You guys didn't have a lot of off days.
Yeah, so an off day. So let's say we go to Orlando, come back at 2 a.m. after the game. That day does not count as off day, or sometimes you get back at 5 a.m. whatever. But the day you get back,
because your day's screwed.
So
the idea, let's say the game was on a Monday, you get back Tuesday morning at 2 a.m. That day you should have off.
No, it doesn't count as an off day.
Yeah, it doesn't count. So basically Wednesday would be an off day. Not Tuesday, because you get home at 3 a.m. or whatever.
Right, but you wouldn't do anything on Tuesday because that's still a day. I don't know what you call it, day working?
Yeah,
it's a travel
basically.
Day.
But we would go back to training Wednesday. And so,
but the league says if you get back at 2 a.m., that day you can't train, and the next day would be the off day.
You can, but it just doesn't count.
As a man. I
got you.
Every what is it, like every
14 days, I think,
14 days,
something like that. Yeah, you're required to have an off day.
Yeah, and we basically went like, it was like 20-something days without like a technical off day. So like there's been maybe 2 or 3 times we got home at 3 a.m. or whatever, and we got
that day off.
One off day, but technically it's not counted.
Gotcha.
I saw something that you guys landed at some ridiculous time in Atlanta, and he was like, "We're going to the facility to train."
3 p.m. Yeah, some might have been 3 p.m., 1 p.m.
And you went straight to the facility to train?
I don't know. It was straight after landing.
Oh,
if you mean that.
No, I mean that. Like, you landed at some crazy time, and then you went straight to the facility to train.
Where'd you
I've
hear
done that in USL.
I don't know.
But obviously USL is more like,
I can't think of specific, but
we're gonna get calls from Atlanta United.
but this is like 3 years ago with a coach that's fired.
No, but okay, I from a fan media standpoint, it does. I've always thought that the whole idea that knowing MLS and the rules at MLS and all that stuff is kind of dumb when it came to coaching, because at the end of the day, you're just coaching soccer players. Like, the game is pretty universal. But that is a good example of bringing in a coach that knows, or a manager that knows
the league,
knows the more of the specifics of how it works. Where, if you're getting home at 2 a.m. that day, I guess theoretically you would have off because you're still working that day, and the next day would be the day off, which would make sense. If you get home at 2 a.m., I don't want to do anything the next day.
Yeah, exactly. I can't see Hines. So he's probably the only coach I'll mention say bad things about, or whatever I say. But I cannot
It's
ever
not bad
see
things.
him.
It's criticism.
I can never see him coming back to MLS.
It's constructive because he doesn't want to.
Probably because he doesn't want to, and just no one in the league
No one would
put
take
up
it.
with.
No one would take it, yeah.
No one will take that really in the league.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was definitely his time was cut short there, just from.
And so I
a bunch of
assume
stuff.
with Hernan Lozada, you had the same experience. I've heard he was really strict with. So actually, it's actually a funny story. I met Hernan Lozada before when he was a player in Belgium.
I've heard he was a good player too.
Fantastic, bro, baller. So I was playing in Belgium, and one of my really good friends at the time, he was Moroccan. So Hernan Lozada is Moroccan too. He's Moroccan. Well, he's Belgian.
He could be mixed with Moroccan, but he's Argentinian.
No. You're right. He's Argentinian. So, but anyways, he's Belgian, but from Argentina, and I had a good friend, a Moroccan friend, and he took me to watch Bershka, which is a second division team in Belgium. And he's like, "Yeah, let's go watch this game." I was playing the first division at the time, and I remember watching him play the game, and I was like, "Man, this guy's sick." Like, he was old, but he was like a baller. And then after the game, he was like, "Yeah, we're gonna meet him. Like, he's a really good friend of mine." So we went down to after the game, you can have like meals with the friends and family. So I met him, like super nice guy. We're talking for a little bit. He's asking how his experience was, and then obviously like 3 years later, I think I was playing the USL at the time, but then I saw he signed for DC, like out of nowhere. Like, I don't know how much prior coaching experience he had, but he just signed with DC.
He coached the team he retired at.
Yeah, he coached Bershka.
And they did really well.
They did really well, and then DC signed him, and I was like, man, that's crazy. So I texted my friend Fareed, and I was like, oh, he's in America now, and he's like, yeah, I know. He's like, maybe I can get you a connection. I was like, shoot, man, maybe. Nothing ever happened, but it was just funny. So it was a small world that I met him.
That'd be funny if you came to Montreal. Oh
yeah. So it was a small world because I met him. But yeah, he was a really, really good player. But I've read when I was playing at the time, I saw stories about him being like really strict with the same problems that Hines had.
The diet stuff.
The water stuff. Was that something you saw too in Montreal, like when he was your coach?
I've heard that it was a lot, more severe
at DC.
In DC, and he toned it down because you can see Hines is my way or the highway, like no matter what.
Yeah.
You could see Hernan kind of want to be similar, but you could also see that like he was willing to change his ways a little bit. He wants to coach how he wants to coach, but he's willing to basically work within the MLS lines to try to get, what he wants through to the players.
Of course, yeah.
So, me personally, I didn't see a lot of that. Maybe like slightly in terms of like, the food stuff and, trying to like monitor body weight or body fat, whatever. But no, not as much as DC. I've heard he toned it down a lot.
Did he ever hop in with you guys at training, like doing exercise stuff, like where you saw his like, this guy's a good player?
I think I don't know. John Michael knows Ousmane Jabang. There's one time it was like the losing team was small-sided has to play a group of like 5 of the coaches.
Oh God,
and
that's horrible.
And we're just like no one wants to play
the coaches. No one. Oh,
and so there's just one play where like Uz is he's one of my best friends, and so I want to say he's like not on coach's best side at the moment. Yeah. Or even throughout the whole year, honestly. Like, he didn't play a lot. Like, he got yelled at a lot, whatever. But this is, like, his time to shine right here. There's, like, a 50-50 or something in the coach versus players game, and Uz just bodies him and scores.
His head coach.
Bodies him and scores. And after, I'm like, I know that felt good, bro. And he's loving it, bro. He's like, I've been waiting for that for so long. And, like, just in general. Yeah, but, like,
And the coach didn't say anything after? He didn't.
No, I mean, you hop into our session.
True. Yeah.
And you expect me to lose to you guys. Like, I'm not losing. So if I need a body, I'm a body. So, yeah, like, that was funny. But, hilarious. Yeah, like, he's maybe hopping, like, 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
Rarely. I didn't see him do it. Maybe, like, passing drill, he would try to, like, demonstrate, like, show off his tech.
His technique.
But, nah, he wouldn't hop in a lot.
That's funny. I had that same experience when I was on loan. I went to a USL team on loan to Austin Bold, and the coach, he was so annoying. He would put himself as a neutral in a 2-team possession drill, and then he would like monitor it, but he would also play with us. But he wasn't very good. Like he was not good. But like everyone knew, like when you pass him the ball, like you could, you're not gonna go and tackle it from him, like take it from him. And he had this one play where he megged someone on our team, it was kind of chance, but he just megged him, and we like. Just did not stop bringing it up for like the rest of the season. We're just constantly bringing it up, like, oh, remember that one time I megged him? And like, you're kind of the players are like, that's hilarious, but everyone else is kind of like.
Some coaches are like that.
Just wouldn't shut up about it?
Just would not shut up about it.
The stories I've heard, I wasn't there. The stories I've heard about Thierry Henry when he was in Montreal are absurd.
Really?
Like he would hop in and kill everyone, like small-sided.
Really?
Like could still play in the league if he wanted to.
He was way better than everyone else. Like that's what I've heard. Like way better. And it was just like, all right, like we get it. Like just let us play. Yeah. And Mason Toy, one of them, he's like.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Like, basically like idolizing, Thierry, and then he comes as a coach. Like he's one of his favorite forwards, I guess, as a player. He comes coaching,
and Mason him?
No. Mason tells me, he's like, yeah, like took me in for a meeting one time, put on his own highlights. He's like, why can't you just do this? And Mason's like, bro, what? Like in his head, he's like, well, what are you talking? Like you're one of the best players ever. Like I can't do that.
That's funny because I think that's why some very, very good coaches, players, can't make it.
They can't dumb their level down.
No, because like they just
else.
can't. Like I feel like maybe like Zidane is an exception, like very good coach. But I feel like I don't think Messi will ever be a coach because like could you imagine Messi trying to like. Explain to someone like you can't
what these guys can see. Like it's not what you see.
And I heard Henry was like demanding. I heard he was like a really hard coach. I met him once in the bubble. We had the bubble in Orlando, and so he was there at the bubble. Were you in the bubble?
Yeah, I didn't play a minute. Well, I was there.
Didn't play a minute either. I was there. It was horrible. Oh my god. Yeah. So I met Henry. I came up to him and I was just like, "Hey man, nice to meet you." He was obviously the coach of Montreal, but I was like, it's pretty sick. It's Henry. He's with his coaching staff. But yeah, I think a lot of coaches because how long was he in Montreal for? A season?
Yeah,
2
1 season.
2? I don't know.
1 season.
But then even after he left Montreal, he went to Monaco. Or was that before Montreal? I think it was after. He went to
I think it was after.
So he went to Monaco. Like I think he didn't do well there. Then he coached France's Olympic team.
Yeah, I was actually I was there when we friendlied them. I didn't play that game either, but
yeah, and so France did it. I guess it was end up a failure because they didn't win but they didn't win they didn't win the Olympics, so it ended up being not like a success for them.
Yeah.
I didn't realize you went to that Olympics. You were on that Olympic roster.
Monaco before.
Oh, Monaco before Montreal.
Yeah, Monaco, Montreal, and then
France U23.
Yeah,
but Monaco went bad. I don't think it went good.
It was a year at Monaco. It was 2 years at Montreal.
Oh, it was 2 years in Montreal.
Oh, it was 2019 to 2021, so I don't know if it's 2 full years or
a
year and a half. I don't know.
Did you guys qualify for playoffs that year with Hernan Sala?
No.
That's what got in the sack. Because the year before that was with Wilfred Nancy when they did really well.
Yeah, they were sick. They were so good.
And then he left to Columbus, and then Sala came in and didn't.
Yeah, like we should have made playoffs easily. We had maybe 10 games international break, and then 10 games the rest of the season. We can make playoffs. I think all we had to do was basically win a game. Like all the results for 10 games went for us every single time. So we would keep tying and losing and still be there. And just we couldn't get a win. All we had to do was win one game. Last game of the season, we played Columbus in Columbus. We're like, yeah, we're not winning this. That's when they have Wilfred Nancy. They're still sick. I think they won last year, right?
Columbus, yeah.
Or yeah, exactly. So they were sick. We went into it like we haven't won in so long. Like it's probably not going to be a win. We scored first 5 minutes though, and we eventually lost 3-1. But the game's over. We're watching the Red Bull game. We're still in playoff spot somehow. And watching the Red Bull game, I think Red Bull get a penalty last play of the game. John Tolkien buries it. And literally last play of the game, last game of the season, put us out. Wow. We were right there the entire time.
Yeah.
All we had to do was win. So yeah, I mean, I don't know what his future would have been regardless.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a crazy ending of the season.
So what was your reaction like when you got traded from Atlanta? Like, what was their reasoning behind all that, or like how that all unfolded?
Yeah, it was like, I mean, I just remember being, I got off a flight and landed in Cancun with George Bello.
You were on vacation.
Yeah. So as I, took my phone off airplane mode, I saw Carlos say, like, give me a call whenever.
That's like always like,
yeah.
I know that's always like, yo, what are you, yeah.
So basically, I don't know if say all the details, but basically,
yeah. Well, yeah, whatever you feel comfortable with.
Basically, it was more of a matter of like me thinking, oh, like this might be an opportunity to like try to go overseas or whatever. Like I had tried to been, I had a talk with them about basically I'm still interested in going to Europe if the opportunity's there.
Come, yeah.
So I'm thinking it's about that. I'm kind of excited for the call. We get to the hotel room. I call him, and basically just tells me, like,
you were traded.
Yeah, you're traded. So it was just a wild situation, honestly. I had zero knowledge of it coming. I had seen him almost, like, every day throughout the past 3 weeks at the training ground because I was working out.
You said Carlos.
Postseason, yeah.
And nothing.
So,
never.
yeah, exactly. So that happens a lot throughout the league. Too much for my liking, at least. Like,
just like,
I've heard some ridiculous
you getting
stories.
traded.
Yeah, I've heard
people getting traded, like, so I know the reasons toward the end of the year, players will get traded because they have to, like, the league mandates essentially that you have to make these decisions.
Roster.
Like the next day the season's over, which is after MLS Cup. So sometimes you'll see like MLS Cup winners find out the next day they're cut
gone.
or they're getting traded to someone else or whatever, and it's insane. But I.
And so were you kind of like sad or like
So I was basically like, George, I put it on speaker too because George's my boy.
Oh gosh.
So yeah.
So you're thinking this could be a great call, and then
yeah. So he says it basically. You're traded. I look over him and he's like mouth dropped. Like we're both like mouth dropped basically, and yeah. So basically calls over whatever. I call my agent. I'm like, yo, like, did you know about this or that this was coming? Like I just got traded. He's like, what? Like he has no idea. Then we started talking a little bit and like, yeah, I'm like, I just landed on vacation, whatever. Like, I guess I'm gonna just enjoy it, whatever, hang up. So I'm just starting to think like, I guess I'm going to Canada. Like, it didn't really hit me.
They had told you got traded to Montreal. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, it didn't really hit me. Like, I was on vacation. I was just trying to enjoy my weekend, and I was just thinking like, damn, like, this is about to be a huge career change at least. Like, in terms of facilities and club and atmosphere, like Atlanta is a slightly superior club just because how much money they put into that part of it.
Yeah.
But
now you go into this unknown where you don't know what's going on.
Yeah, in terms like all I know
too.
exactly.
It's not even got traded to the US. You got traded
and a part of part of Canada where they don't speak English.
French.
Yeah.
They speak
so
well, they don't speak English,
but the main language.
Yeah,
is
primary is for sure French. But in the training ground, I mean, yeah, for sure English you get by. But yeah, I mean, I'm coming there like new, different country. All I know about it is French speaking and it's cold. And like I don't know the coach, I don't know any players there except for Mason Toy, who's I'm super close with.
Yeah.
So I'm basically like, oh, this sucks. I'm in a relationship with my girlfriend at the time. Like we're kind of still in the honeymoon phase, I guess you could say.
And she's from Atlanta. So
yeah,
like,
exactly. She's in Atlanta. She lives at home with family. So I'm like, dang, like I don't know how she's gonna take this. Honestly, I think I texted her.
You texted her the news? You didn't call her the news? You texted her?
I think I texted her.
She wasn't on vacation with you in Cancun.
No. Oh. So I texted her, and she was not happy, to say the least.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So
I can imagine.
Yeah, but that's out of your control,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Still mad at me, though.
Mad at you? What? Mad at you? I'm like, what am I supposed to do? This is completely out of my control. I didn't ask for a trade. I didn't go into the front office and be like, trade me. Like, they just trade me.
Yeah. So... yeah, I was shocked, bro. I mean, I had no idea he was coming. I honestly felt pretty sad.
Yeah.
Just because of how long I spent in Atlanta. I had to figure out, like, I had to move out of my apartment.
The logistics is just a nightmare.
Yeah, the logistics is a nightmare. But luckily, I don't have a family at the time.
That's
so
true.
I'm moving by myself.
Of course, which is easier, which is a lot easier.
Yeah,
and the
exactly.
MLS is really good with, like, helping.
Yeah,
with, like,
that I will say they're really
relocation. MLS is, like,
unbelievable
top.
with that.
Yeah, they're unbelievable
So
how they do that.
honestly, everything worked out pretty well in terms of logistics because I was living just on the street from here, where we are right now, at an apartment with my brother. And on top of that, all the stuff is basically our parents, like, in the apartment. So I'm moving nothing. I'm just moving myself and my clothes. Yeah, I'm moving my suitcases up there.
You didn't have a car in Atlanta?
I did, but I'll deal with the car later. I'm just going up there. So, yeah, like, I just basically, move all the stuff up that is my personal belongings. And on top of that, like, it was literally just like my mom and my girlfriend come over with me. Like, they went at different times, but let's go shopping, basically. Just shop for couch, shop for TV, shop for this, shop for that. Yeah. Because everything, they reimburse you for like half a percent or whatever.
It's like taxed. Or I guess when I was playing, you could, the reimbursement, they would like tax it. Or so you'd pay like a little bit, but the majority of it, to however much they give you.
They do it relative to the city you're in's taxes, and Montreal's a worst city in the league for
taxes. Really?
52%.
Oh, was that before? I'm trying to think. When did Miles Robinson leave Atlanta? Was that the next year?
He left.
He left after you?
The reason I'm asking is because I'm wondering, and I forget the date. So anyone that's going to fact check me, just I'm
in the same
forgetting.
time, honestly.
But I'm wondering if at that time too, you might have been in the mindset like Miles Robinson looks like he's not coming back, or he didn't extend his contract, or whatever the situation was. Maybe I'll get more playing time in Atlanta. Like, was that a thought at all? And again, the timeline might be a little bit different because I'm not.
Yeah. I'm actually.
Or let me just ask more generally. Did you think going into that year that maybe before obviously the news, did you think maybe this year I'm for sure going to get more playing time, more development, all that stuff?
He tore his Achilles.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember if that's 2022 beginning, like middle of the season, or 2021 middle of the season. I want to say I was with Pineda, so I want to say beginning of 2022. That's when he did that. So I'm thinking, I think in the back of my head at least, like you said, I think this might be a good year for me to get playing time. I don't know what they're doing with the rest of the roster situation because this is about to be my first option year of 2. So, yeah, I mean, I'm basically when Carlos called me, basically said like he didn't think I was going to fit well with the plans, and I didn't think I was going to play, and it was a good deal for both teams, so they just made it happen.
Oh, so it wasn't like it was. They kind of told you. It was kind of like we didn't need you. So like,
I think it was more of that, honestly. Yeah. But in my head, it didn't make sense because I was like, oh, if you're gonna sell me, why do it this way? Why not, try to get the interest we had from Europe and try to send me on my way if you're gonna get rid of me anyway? That was my kind of mindset at the time. That's why I was kind of confused. I don't know in terms of money exactly the difference between
the money.
All that.
Yeah, the money thing I don't care.
But yeah, I mean, yeah. At the end of the day, I came in thinking like next preseason is going to be a good year. I'm going to play, or at least I'm going to take a step further again because 2021 I played maybe 15 MLS games. The next year maybe like 20 to 25 MLS games.
But every year it was
exactly. So I'm thinking again I'm going to take another step up, and I did, just not for Atlanta, and I played again in maybe 25 whatever games in Montreal, but. Yeah, I mean, every year I think this can be a year I can prove myself to be a player. Yeah. That comes back to that new coach thing. I mean, fresh preseason with a fresh coach. I feel like you always
new environment.
As a player, you need to be like, all right, like I need to assert myself, kind of.
This is you brought it up the Achilles thing because there was like 3 different Achilles tears.
Oh yeah,
that same year. What was going on? Was there something was there something in the water? What was like? What was going on?
Honestly the freakiest injury thing I've ever seen. Like, the first was the backup keeper did it in training.
Yeah, I forget it was Kristen
Casanero.
Oh, is that who it was?
Yeah. Yeah, so he did it first, then Miles, then Brad. 2 on turf and 1. The first one was at training.
Miles and Guzan were both in games.
Yeah,
and then
the first one was at training, and he never played at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, so you can't really blame the turf.
Miles did.
Yeah, I mean,
Miles looked at the turf and goes and like points at the turf at one point.
Yeah, I forgot
and like it just blames the turf. That's what it looked like on TV.
I don't know if it was just frustration or
it might have been just
to this day he believes that.
Yeah.
It could be. I don't know. It definitely has a slight effect. But I mean, 3 in a row is unheard of.
I think what he said was that he felt it move underneath him. I could be wrong. You know what? I'm not going to say that because it's not that I have it in front of me. But he definitely, in the video, you can see him almost like point at the ground, at what looks like pointing at the turf, and he clearly is upset. Yeah, which, naturally, if you're going to tear your Achilles,
exactly,
you're going to be upset. But
yeah, and then Ozzie Alonso as well towards ACL that year.
Yeah.
So,
Jesus, so much went. That was such a, and I think was it that same year that Heinze got the boot?
No, that was Gonzalez.
That was
full year.
Oh, never mind. Yeah, and I remember us thinking, talking about it and writing about it. We were just like, there's nothing you can say about this. Like, this season's almost a wash at this point because of all these injuries to key players.
Yeah. Were you there in that locker room when Martinez apparently like had that scuffle with Biena in Orlando?
Orlando?
Something happened where when he got suspended. Because they never got along. They never got along, right?
I don't think so. No. Yeah. I remember pretty vividly when they went at it. I think in Portland, maybe.
Oh yeah.
Orlando, I'm not sure. I mean, Joseph's pretty animated and passionate as well. Like,
yeah.
You know, when he's mad, kind of everyone knows. That I can't remember, but yeah, there was some times of tension for sure where everyone could feel it and. You're just like where basically not even you don't even care about the moment, but where is this gonna take our season? Like, it's just a bad moment for the team and in general that's happened a few times with different coaches, different teams for me. But it's an unfortunate situation.
How was that reuniting with him in this season?
In Montreal?
In Montreal.
Yeah, I mean he's funny, man.
Yeah, I saw that he's not coming back next season.
No. Yeah, so
he had a decent year, didn't he?
Yeah, end of the season, last third of the season, he balled out, scored a few braces. And I think he maybe ended like 14, 13 goals or something.
It's not bad.
Yeah, exactly. And he was injured a bit in the beginning, so he did well for how many games he played. It's just a matter of, like, in terms of for him, kind of entered MLS, at least for him, is prime, and on an unbelievable team. What I think is probably a good coach at the time, great team, won trophies, and then all of a sudden you get injured, and I don't know how his time in Miami was, but you come here to Montreal, and it's just an opposite situation of what you're used to and what winning is all about. When we just hit a bad moment in our season, we were losing all the time. We were getting smacked in games. Guys are, just. It's not as competitive as a club as Atlanta was for when he was there.
Yeah.
So you see that frustration in him, and you get to, like I said, like animated, frustrated, whatever. But in terms of just like, at least my growth as a person and my relationship with him, like obviously I met him when I was 17, 18, and he's like, who the fuck is this guy? So there, like, at least like in terms of myself, like my respect for him and his respect for me grew a little bit.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, we would joke around a lot, and, we're pretty cool, but it wasn't a matter of, like, this is going to change our season, he's sick, like, whatever, because we had a lot to kind of fix from being with
one player's not going to
do it, yeah, so, no, it was a good addition to the locker room. Our locker room at Montreal is the best locker room I've ever been in. Nice, it's a lot of fun. Like, our guys are sick, like, a young group, everyone can talk to everyone. It's a good time.
That's always good. If you have like a toxic locker room where guys are, it leaks and it can get bad really quick. So that's always good that if there's good camaraderie and the guys like each other and stuff like that. That's important. That's it's got to be for a successful team.
Just in general, like the lifestyle part, like even if things are going well, bad, when you like get back to the locker room and like at a certain point guys are not gonna fight and you can try to get to the next day and the next day. Trying to work with each other, like it just makes your life a little happier. Sometimes it makes it less competitive because you guys start to goof off or whatever, but at the end of the day, if we can keep that same type of camaraderie and also be on the same page on the field, like you're flying. So, yeah.
Did it hurt a little bit losing to Atlanta United on the last game of the season?
Not a little bit, a lot.
A lot?
Yeah, that honestly... That pissed me off for a while.
Yeah, whenever you play against your old club, it's like it's a personal game.
And we beat them.
I watched that game. I watched that game. That was crazy.
Rewind a year ago, though. We they beat us twice. They came to our place in the summer, beat us. We went to them. I got taken off at halftime in Atlanta. Like, all my family, friends came.
Oh, no.
We were playing terrible, and, like, one of the subs he makes at halftime is me, like, as a center back.
There's always going to be, like...
Did Joseph have 2 goals that game?
No, this is last year. So
Yeah. No.
He wasn't on the team.
He wasn't on the team last year. Never mind.
Yeah, so that, for me, like, I've been waiting to play in Atlanta for a year. And then that happens, and that pissed me off basically pissed me off towards Atlanta and playing against them.
Yeah.
For a whole another year. So we played them in the summer again this season. We beat them. Maybe I don't remember, 1-0, I think.
At home
in Montreal. We go to Atlanta, and I'm like, okay, like, here we are again. I'm not letting that happen, what happened last year. I'm not having a bad game, subbed off, whatever. Like, I'm going to lock in and do my best this game. We're going to win. And we're like neck and neck with them for a playoff push. This is like the third to last game of the season.
Yeah.
And so we win. It's a lot better feeling. And then I'm like, yeah, like, they're out. Like, there's 2 games left at this point.
We were 100% out. And then it was out.
Yeah, I was like, they're like, get them out of here. Like, they're out of the playoff chase. They're gonna give up whatever.
Yeah.
Somehow they win 2 games in a row, and all the other results go perfectly for them. Basically, the only thing that could have happened. I'm like, oh my God, here we go. But we play them at home. I'm like,
and the reason he was like, oh my God, is because the only team we can play is Montreal.
Exactly. Yeah.
Going into the playoffs, the only team that we can play in that knockout is Montreal.
So, yeah. So, basically, I'm thinking at home at this point in the season, we were flying. We were, I want to say, 5 wins and a draw in the last 6 games. Or maybe, no, we lost to Charlotte. So, 5 wins and a draw in the last 7. And we're flying at home. And in general, we're flying. We're playing well. I'm like, yeah, we're killing them. Like, we're going to dominate this game 100%. And we just give up easy goal first half. I think we go down 2-0 at half. Same type of goal, cross back post finish. And I'm like, nah, like, we're not about to end the year like this. Somehow we bring it, just scored a brace, but we bring it back, like 89th minute, scores a penalty. And when we get to the penalty shootout, that was probably my 2nd or 3rd penalty shootout in my career.
Uh-huh.
I'm just not like, I don't like the game deciding I like watching it, but if it's my game, I'd rather just play extra time because we were killing them. We were playing them off the park.
There was no extra time. It was straight to penalties.
Yeah, straight to penalties.
Not only that, but yeah, you scored in the 63rd minute, you scored again in the 89th minute, you got all the momentum going your way.
Exactly. If it goes an extra 30 minutes, you guys are probably winning.
Even if it goes extra 5 minutes.
I remember thinking watching that game, oh my gosh, like in my mind, please just end the game so that we can go to PKs and we have a chance. Because if it goes any further, if
5 minutes more, we win that game. So just when it went to pens, you get a bad feeling that it's like, if we were gonna win, it had to be regular time. But yeah, that definitely stung because I mean they played in Miami 3 days later, and me and my boys on my couch, my teammates watching, like, this should be us right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's.
Were you thinking about that, like potentially going to Miami and playing against Messi and those guys? And
everyone was.
Everyone was, yeah.
And the thing is, we played Miami. We played them off the park that year.
Uh-huh.
Like, Inter Miami this year was basically the perfect matchup. Again, we lost, but they were the perfect matchup
for you guys,
for us, and how we played, because we did have a lot of struggle. But if you're gonna defend like how Miami defends,
with so many numbers up forward,
we're gonna dominate on the ball. I mean, we were killing. I think they play with basically Messi, Suarez up top defending, and basically the rest defend for them.
The rest defend for them, yeah.
So we're playing with 3 in the back, and like we're killing them. And they have no business in the game. We're up 2-0 in like the 35th minute, and they score a banger of a free kick from like 30 yards out, like unbelievable free kick. And we're like, all right. They score 5 minutes later, right before half. Flick back post, Suarez taps it in. We're like, all right, like, here we go. Like, we should not be. This is not a game we should be losing. We ended up losing like 3-2 in like a counterattack in the second half. But we're all thinking we can we can kill Miami. We just have to win this game. And that's why it was more of like that should be us, because obviously Atlanta did win, but we just felt like it was our spot to lose if we're gonna lose, and it wasn't.
Yeah. To be fair, in that penalty shootout, I was watching. I don't forget who I was watching with, but I said like Atlanta took their penalties really well. Like all of their penalties were solid penalties.
Yeah.
Like and Guzan obviously came up with.
Yeah, he came up with one save, almost at the second.
No,
but,
yeah, but the penalties that Atlanta took, like I was like fair, like good penalty. Like ultimately that's what you can do in that situation. Is like you just need to put yourself in this position where like I feel like the best thing you can think of as a player when you hit a penalty is let me put it in this spot that no matter if he guesses the right way, he still can't save it because it's so good into that spot that it doesn't matter even if he knows I'm going this direction, he's not going to be able to reach there or he's not going to be able to get to that spot. That's what I thought. But yeah, that was. I'm sure that was.
I don't think there was one Atlanta. Well, I don't want to. Never mind. I forget that you're actually a pro and still play like on the team because I'm just like I don't think anyone in Atlanta thought we were going to.
Nah, I don't think so.
Like I don't want to rub it in, but I didn't think Atlanta was going to win.
What did you think of Suarez's level? Because I know he obviously got a lot of criticism coming into the league because people. I mean, he didn't get criticism. People just thought it wasn't going to be a good signing because he has knees and he's not at the level.
It sounds like if this was like a viral video right now, what I'm about to say, everyone would be like, who is this guy? But like Suarez and Messi like actually did nothing that game. Like it was like a normal game for us. Yeah. Like we handled them perfectly fine. As much, they didn't do anything. It was purely just a matter of moments, a game of moments. Like I mean, he dove around a lot. Like. You know Suarez.
Messi's always. Oh, are you talking about Messi or Suarez?
No, well, right now I'm talking about Suarez. He was diving around.
I think they both play the same. They both pick their moments to
influence the
game. Put all the effort in.
Yeah.
So that they can play at the age that they're playing. Yeah. And so you're not going to see him running around. I know Messi's gotten criticism like that for a while now because he's seen walking around. Yeah. But when he does run, he's 100%.
Exactly. Which makes teams very dangerous. Like people don't realize if you're saving all your energy for counterattacks and whatever when everyone else is tired, like it's dangerous. So those guys, I mean, also they obviously play at the highest level, so they're going to capitalize when they get the chances. Yeah. That's why they beat a lot of these teams because they get dominated for 85 minutes, but 1% of this game, 2%
they have that
game,
X factor of we can rely on Messi to get us out of this situation.
Yeah, converting. Yeah. Like their stats are unbelievable.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So I mean, you look at Argentina versus Mexico in that World Cup. Like Argentina's out. And then they just had that one moment with Messi.
Put the ball
in the net. You know, it's just like out of nowhere.
Just give it to this guy. So it wasn't really a matter of that against us because like I said, we genuinely killed them. It was just a matter of moments with other guys. But
I had an old teammate that plays in New York, and after he played against they played against Miami in New York, and I was asking him how it was playing against Messi and stuff. I think they tied, but there was like tensions in the match. Like Messi was talking crap to someone, I remember this. And I remember asking like Keaton, my friend, I was like, what was going on? And he was like, he was just like complaining about everything. He was like, respect. And he was like, bro, what do you mean respect? Like we're not allowed to take the ball from you. We're like, what do you mean respect? Like we can't take the ball from you. And I started dying.
That kind of pisses me off. That pisses a lot of guys off. Honestly,
because I feel like do they have that like that feeling of like you guys can't touch me?
I think, they probably had that from their own teammates more than the rest of the league, honestly, because I feel like they do think like everyone respects what they've done, and I think right when he came, people thought that because he played in the Leagues Cup or whatever, scored that winner or whatever. Everyone's like, oh my God, like is Messi actually in the league? But now that he's been in the league for a year now, like it's almost like not guys don't care, but like. This is a game. Like, I don't care that we're playing Messi, Suarez,
the shine is kind of rubbed off.
Yeah, the shine is rubbed off a little bit. It's more of like, we get it. Messi's in the league.
Yeah.
So, at least we didn't play
I think
that
was more of a media thing than anything else. I think all the players were like, great. You got to deal with this now.
They took it very far. Like, you saw on Instagram, whatever, every single post.
Oh, every post was Messi.
Messi.
Post.
For us, it was definitely not like that. Me, personally, I fouled Messi. He went off the field. And MLS now has an injury rule is like you have to be off for like 2 minutes or whatever if you lay down and get off. So he had to get treatment on the field. When I fouled him, he got off. In the moment, I'm thinking my comments with these Argentinians are gonna be insane on Instagram because like a month or so before, maybe less, there's a guy on Nashville accidentally stepped on him. He gets 3,000 comments of like just crazy stuff. Threats, whatever.
Way.
Crazy
you have
stuff.
Stepped on their god, man.
Yeah, literally. So I fouled him basically. I think he like megged me, but like I was really just trying to stop the play, and I think he happened to meg me. So I like hit his shin or whatever. I'm pretty sure I saw him like try to like stare me down and walking off. But then Suarez is like, apologize.
In English, he said it too?
Yeah, apologize. When I foul you, I apologize. I'm like, bro, what? Apologize for what? What am I apologizing for? So yeah, like I come.
That's hilarious.
That's the first thought, and after after the game,
that makes Atlanta United win over Miami so bad.
They were pissed. They were furious.
You can go on Instagram see like basically whatever pictures against Miami, or when the one after. I don't know, but you see like 300 or so comments and it's racist.
On your page.
Yeah, like
no way.
Crazy
Oh,
stuff.
Geez.
Like that was the first thing that came to my mind.
I'm
Like,
about to check that out. That's crazy.
My comments about to be crazy right now because I've seen it from this other guy on Nashville, and my whole family's there as well. Like my family, cousins.
Yeah.
And apparently they're in the moment too. We're like, yo, we gotta check George's comments right now.
That's
I guarantee
crazy.
it's like that.
I remember when the FC Dallas center back, what's his name? One of the center backs in FC Tafari. He came out with an interview, and because Miami was coming to Dallas, and he was talking, and he was saying something about like, yeah, I'm gonna make this interview, but like, I'm gonna go out there and play to win. I'm gonna try to stop Messi, and the people are gonna watch this, and they're gonna have no clue who I am, and they're gonna be like, who is this guy? But at the end of the day, like, I'm here and I'm about to play him. So that is interesting to see like the players' perspective when you go up against like someone like that.
Guys,
like probably if not one of the greatest players, if not the greatest player that's ever played. That's pretty. Yeah. That's pretty insane.
It's definitely a weird feeling because also from a club standpoint where we're getting like photography or whatever, like we check our like Google Drive or whatever, and like obviously the picture usually of us before the game, after the game, during the game, and you just see pink, like just Messi. If you happen to be next to Messi, like for sure you're getting a picture.
You're getting a photo.
But like a lot is Messi, and we're just like, yo, can we get some pictures today? Like,
I would like purposely put myself next to Messi so I can get a photo. Just like, let me just stand. Like, even if I'm not even around him during the game, like let me just stand here for like a minute if there's like a water break or something like that, just so I can hopefully get a flick or something like that.
Yeah,
that's hilarious.
Yeah, that was a fun like. Honestly, that was a really fun for me, especially because I had all my family, cousins there, parents.
I'm sure that's crazy.
Fun build up to the game.
It's probably packed too.
Packed, like loud. What pissed me off, genuinely, is that you started to hear like Messi chants while we're trying to push to tie the game up. Basically,
no, in your home stadium.
Yeah, so it was kind of like.
It's like, just come on, man. The dude's the best player in the world.
I know, that's insane.
Like what can you do?
I don't think Atlanta was chanting Messi though in Atlanta in that playoff at home. I don't know. I wasn't there.
I wasn't there either, but I
don't think Atlanta would do that. I don't think Atlanta would do that.
No, I 100% think they would.
They would chant Messi.
I think because you got to remember, there are people that just go to watch Messi. Yeah. It's not that they're going for the game. They're not going for. They're just there to watch Messi, and that's fine. If you think he's the greatest player in the world, that's
definitely not gonna find that in. Like, if you went back to Spain or something, or playing for PSG is another French team. Marseille is not chanting Messi while he's on PSG.
We're just so in love with the star power, and we're such a melting pot in this country that you're gonna have Argentinians in Montreal. You're gonna have Argentinians in New York. You're gonna have Argentinians in LA. You're gonna have Argentinians in Austin, Texas. You're gonna have Argentinians everywhere, and they're all gonna be there just to watch Messi because, he's the greatest player to come out of Argentina, and he's one of the greatest players in the world. If you think he's the greatest player or second greatest player, depending on which way you lean in that argument, but
I guess
there's some people that just love that so much about sports, about the I don't know. I've never been very early on in my media career, but I've never been a starstruck kind of guy. So Messi might be the exception if he were to like walk in here right now. But I mean, I don't even. That's the thing. I don't know. Maybe not.
So for me,
but I do. It
wasn't like that
because you're in the game. It's you're in the heat of battle per se. But I can totally see that. I can also totally see where some players are just like,
F this guy.
Well, yeah, go hardcore one way or go hardcore the other way. Where they're like, when they do foul him, they're like, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no, that would. No,
that doesn't happen. That doesn't happen.
What's the game plan before you against go Messi? What is your coach saying like about him? Like what
honestly,
can we do?
Nothing. Everyone,
everyone
knows kind of what he's like. Yeah, no, I don't think that week was like all about us.
Yeah, like it's not like you're preparing for Messi.
Yeah, no. It wasn't like someone man marks him or when he gets the ball. Like we all know exactly what he's doing right now. Like we know exactly how he's gonna play.
Yeah.
A lot of like there's a few balls where I'm sure everyone else, all the other defenders were thinking it, but especially me because he would drop in so he could cut in on his left side to get the ball sometimes when he wasn't fighting the ball enough, and I'm on the right side, so I already know every time he gets the ball,
that ball's
touch left
right.
and. Alba didn't play that game. So, honestly, that would probably help me because there's probably a lot of runs he would make in behind my shoulder. So, you would try to find Suarez or whoever the third man center mate is running behind.
Yeah.
But I know, we've been watching this guy for so long. And obviously, when it happens in front of you, it's a little faster.
He's probably the only player out there you can find specific YouTube videos on how to defend. If you wanted to. I bet you can look up on YouTube right now.
Yeah, so every time he got the ball deep, coming on the left foot, I'm dropping immediately. And I know he's going to try to clip a ball perfectly timed to Suarez, whoever, right behind my shoulder or whatever. So that kind of just personal knowledge made it pretty easy to defend, I would say. So, yeah, I mean, yeah. It was a good game, but
I guess to wrap it up, I want to ask two last little questions. The first one would be the player that has wowed you the most, in training or a teammate of yours, someone that's man, this guy is unreal.
On my team or
on your
anyone?
team? I mean, I could say anywhere. You could say anywhere. Maybe someone you played against too. That you're just man, this guy's insane. Just another level. Someone that's really taken you by surprise.
So I'll come back to that as I'm thinking. Against someone, I didn't even play this game, but it was when I went to the Olympic camp with the U.S. Cherokee is by far the best player I've ever seen in person.
The French player?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. He's unbelievable. First touch, dribbling, passing, flair. He has everything.
Insane.
Both feet.
Yeah.
I've never seen someone move like that before, honestly. He's insane. But in terms of who I play with or been around the most, that's a really difficult one because I want to say probably Ezequiel Barco in Atlanta.
Really?
Him and Almada were both fantastic. Similar players, slightly different though. Barco's one of those guys.
That was just another level. You thought this guy's insane.
Yeah, he's pretty
That's so funny because the criticism in the media was that he was not that player.
I think the way players.
I don't know.
But I think the way that players view
is
players is different than the way
100%,
media will
yes,
view players.
100%.
Way different.
Way different.
Being every day with someone
them
where
and
you see what
them,
they actually
and
do.
you know how hard it is what they're doing. It's harder from a player that has or someone that just hasn't played to see what someone's doing and be oh, okay. But then when you're actually out there and you know how difficult it is for that player to pull off that move or that skill or that goal, you're man, damn, that's
so. The other equation to that is the expectation put on him was put on by the fan base, less so by any teammates or the coaching staff themselves. So he was brought in to be the
next
Almiron replacement,
Almiron,
and that was probably never going to happen to begin with. But that's what he was there for.
He had a good time in Atlanta.
I'm not saying he did. I'm not saying he did. I'm not saying he was a bust or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying. But the transcendent talent that was Almiron was not replicated with Barco.
Yeah, I would say Almada was like Barco would. I would say the only thing Barco did that was seemed like a lot better from the eye, I guess, than Almada was how fast he would dribble with the ball. But Almada would kind of do that, the same thing, maybe not as fast with the ball, but you do the same thing. But at the same time, he's picking out an assist or a goal from 25 yards, pretty often. He had sick 2 years in Atlanta. So he was also obviously a guy who's pretty nice. Luis Araujo also was one. He was unbelievable when he wanted to be. That was a guy. He just won the French first division with Lille.
Oh, did he really?
Came fresh off of French title, and he came to us. And I saw some of his highlights coming in. I'm yo, this guy he's gonna be nice. And training, first game, first start he played. I don't know if it was me or I gave it to someone who gave it to him, but he picks the ball up from half field and just turns and drives with the ball almost from half field and scores. And I was this guy should not be here. Why is he in this league? But then he would have games where he he just kind of takes the piss and like thinks it's gonna be a walk in the park because he did that last game, and now like the rest of the season he's getting frustrated or doesn't play as well. So he was probably the player that I played with for many games who I would say like he should be the best one.
Yeah,
he was very good.
Also, doesn't help that we were like Atlanta United's been like a coaching carousel for
that doesn't help
for a few years now. So the consistency in the coaching staff probably is not going to help anything when it comes to getting the best out of players. So
yeah,
totally get that. No, I wasn't. No, Barco was. I thought he was fine here, but that's from a perspective of someone who was like expecting to see having won MLS Cup, having seen Albion on leave. He was brought in to be the next guy, and so was everyone else that was brought in to be the next guy to kind of replace them. And it didn't seem like that ever happened. Now, that's a big ask, considering what Albion did and the success that they had. So it's not a, I 100% recognize for anyone that's about to be like, screw you, Eric. That is a fan media perspective. That is not an on-field perspective that should be recognized.
Everyone say Nagby as well. I don't know how I forgot him. Nagby.
Yeah, Nagby's. Yeah, I've heard a lot of things. I've heard a lot of guys that like have a lot of respect for Nagby. Like he's a baller.
He's a baller.
Andrew's one of them. Andrew's always been like Nagby's insane.
Yeah, I don't think there's anyone who's played with Nagby won't say he's one of the best players.
They won't say
he's played with. He's unbelievable.
Right, and so lastly, if you had any piece of advice to any young aspiring footballer that's trying to make it, that's trying to play college soccer, that's trying to make their high school team or trying to go pro, what would be your advice to them?
Yeah, I would just say like, one, take the criticism of your coaches, and know like you have room to get better no matter how good you are at your current level or with who you play. Like you're not as good as you can be, and maybe sometimes you're not even as good as you think you are. So there's another level you can reach. So I'd say take the criticism. Don't try to, be too big time, too big for your horses. And on top of that, just keep your head down and keep working. Some of these guys that make it pro have started a lot slower than you are or faster. Doesn't matter. Everyone has a different pace of how they grow as a player, and some guys on the opposite end fall off when they had all the talent in the world. So I just say put your head down and know you can get better. That's one of the main things is you can always be better than whatever you are, whatever you think you are. Me, for example, I didn't even think I would be as good as I am now or play in the MLS like I do now. So, yeah, for sure.
Nice. Well, George Campbell, everyone. Thank you, man. We appreciate you taking the time and getting this in. It's been good. I think this is a lot of really good information that a lot of people will like to listen to. So
yeah, appreciate you having me, guys.
Yeah. All right.
See you later, everybody.
Yes, sir.